Barrister, we have back and forths going on with the Labour Party. First of all, Abure suspended Nenadi Usman faction, a faction headed by Nenadi Usman as the head of the party, and Nenadi Usman, in like manner, has suspended Nenadi's faction now has suspended Julius Abure. Um, I think Julius Abure's days are numbered, even though I believe that the APC government is actually using Julius Abure. Otherwise, I don't, I think it's not supposed to be there. It's not supposed to be wielding such power. My problem was, I don't know if for some states to actually, when he called for meeting, state chairman actually honored that. That was alarming to me, a sort of. But INEC, I think INEC, as 2 or 3 days ago, INEC seemed to indicate support for the Nenadi Usman faction of the party, because I think their platform do no longer recognize Julius Abure, a sort of. Barrister, what's your take on this? Do you have better information than myself?
No. On INEC's website, Julius Abure is still the national chairman of Labour Party.
Oh,
and
really?
Anyanwu is the national secretary of PDP. INEC explanation is that they put Julius Abure based on court order. Remember back when the Court of Appeal made the pronouncement. Before then, Nenadi Usman and her committee were fully in charge of the National Secretariat of the Labour Party. When the Court of Appeal ruled in favor of Abure, he used that court order to go and take over the Secretariat. And also used the court order to get himself recognized by INEC. Now we come to what the Supreme Court said, and which I've criticized on your show repeatedly. The Supreme Court failed to resolve the problem and threw it back to the party. So today, who is the party? That's the question. Who is the party that will now decide on the leadership? He came to that office, he took over, he had left based on the Court of Appeal judgment.
Sorry,
he came back.
Before you go into that, Barrister, excuse me. I'm trying to actually retrieve the news. I think I misplaced the news. Nenadi Usman actually pointed, I think the Nenadi Usman faction of the party suspended Abure based on based on what they got from the indication they got from INEC. INEC does not, I think I forgot it, either on their platform or somehow. I think Nenadi, because Nenadi gave reference to what INEC did that actually made them
what
made
happened,
Julius Abure's term as that consider it expired or so.
What happened is that people saw Julius Abure's name on INEC website and raised a cry that INEC have recognized Julius Abure. So INEC came out and issued a press statement that we have not taken a decision. The latest press statement from INEC, which is 2 days back, is that they have not taken a decision on the leadership of Labour Party. And they explained the name of Abure on their website that it emanated from the court order. That is the court order, that is the Court of Appeal order then, when he came back to take the Secretariat. So that still remains. The INEC final press release 2 days ago is that they are still studying the judgment of the Supreme Court. The expulsion of Abure is in response to Abure's faction expelling the Nenadi Usman faction from the party. So they also responded in like manner. That's what is happening.
Hold on, let me hear if we can hear this.
Sent Supreme Court judgment that removed Barrister Julius Abure as the national chairman of the Labour Party. We honor our dedicated members nationwide who have remained steadfast despite the turbulence. Yet, we must confront with courage and clarity the divisive actions and manipulative tactics of Barrister Abure and his associates. Their actions have threatened the unity, integrity, and public.
No, I think that I read this somewhere. I was like, I've misplaced the news. Barrister, Nenadi Usman actually made reference to it. She made reference to this INEC stuff or whatever. I can't, whether it's on their platform or something INEC did that actually is the basis behind her suspending Abure. Anyway, let's move on. Now, this there is a twist here. NLC is actually playing a role here, a major role. I think you and I have talked about this NLC's role in Labour Party. They are claiming, let me read part of what NLC is trying to do here. The Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has escalated its confrontation with the Julius Abure-led faction of the Labour Party, formally urging the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to revoke the recognition of Abure's leadership. NLC President Joe Ajaero made this known in Abuja, also announcing plans for a surprise coordinated takeover of party secretariats across the country, a bid to reassert union dominance over the party structure. Ajaero argued that the Labour Party is a political extension of the trade unions and cannot be led without the consent of its founding bodies, the NLC and TUC. He accused Abure of flouting internal agreements and staging an illegitimate convention in Anambra State without union backing, a move the NLC refuses to recognize. While no timeline was given, the NLC's upcoming INEC meeting will finalize the takeover plan. Ajaero warned that the action will be swift and unannounced to preserve its strategic advantage, urging workers nationwide to remain on standby, calling Abure's grip on the party or an attempted hijack. Ajaero emphasized that the NLC holds the Labour Party's certificate of registration and will not allow charlatans to subvert its founding mission. Okay, let me read this last. But at its core, the real question remains: who truly owns the Labour Party? The trade unions that bettered it, or the politicians that now claims its future? Barrister, that's a question to you.
Yes. Like I said, as at Wednesday, INEC have come out to say that they do not recognize any of the leadership. And when they were confronted with Abure's name on their website, they explained that it was based on a court order. In fact, they also asked them about why Anyanwu was.
Let's talk about this NLC involvement. We are taking too much time on this.
Yes, coming to the NLC, I told you when we were discussing the Supreme Court judgment that it is a recipe for chaos. And now it is everybody for himself. You see, Arabambi has claimed Abure is there, Nenadi Usman is there. But it was the NLC that actually put together the Labour Party. So they have also stepped in, and they are planning the physical takeover of the party structures, which they said they will do swiftly.
Can they do that by law?
I told you when the Supreme Court made that judgment, it was a recipe for chaos, because who is the party? They have thrown the issue of leadership back to the party. So the question is, who is the party? If Abure is not, if Nenadi Usman is not, if Rabambi is not, who is the party? Which organ of the party now has the right to take action on the leadership?
NLC says they have the certificate of registration with them.
What does that mean? The registration of any entity makes it corporate. Your possession of the certificate is of no legal value. It has no legal value. So if today I get the original certificate of incorporation of your company, it does not make me the owner of the company. I'm just holding the document.
But okay, now going by what Ajaero said, the president, that they are going to take over the structures, physical structures of this party? Can they do that?
Exactly. That is why I said it's everybody for himself. The faction that will emerge physically stronger will take over. Or the government wanting to destabilize the party will assist one group with security forces to maintain its hold on the party. That's why I was vehement in criticizing the judgment of the Supreme Court, that we should not come to that. The party has a constitution registered with INEC, and it is part of the law that every party must have a constitution. So why don't you, as the Supreme Court, go ahead and interpret the constitution as it relates to who is the leader of the party? Simple. But we have problems in Nigeria at all levels. Least of all the judiciary. And you throw the problem back to the party. How did they help in that way? They have not. So we are back to the crisis. The matter has reached the Supreme Court. Everybody thought, okay, at long last, we are going to resolve the leadership crisis in the Labour Party. But what did we have? The people sent them back. Go and continue fighting. So now it is the strongest person to emerge as the leader of the party, or the group that will have the largest support and the most powerful support will emerge and claim the party. It's as simple as that.
It's so sad, honestly. It is so sad. It's so sad. I don't know. I think we've discussed this before. Now, the genesis of this whole problem started prior to the 2023 election, where I think that was when we had this Arabambi and Akpata's faction then, who were antagonistic of Abure. And Peter Obi then was supportive of Abure. Do you see Peter Obi as now, because this crazy, stupid Akpabio was using this against Peter Obi, actually holding this against him, that if he cannot manage, somebody who cannot manage a political party, how can he actually manage the Nigerian government? Which I'm neither here nor there on that. As much as I hate, what's his name, Akpabio, what he just said carries substance, is substantive somehow, because truly Peter Obi was there when this whole thing happened. I think a part of me thought then, and still think, that he could have intervened. He could have been open. He could have at least done the right thing then, nipped the ball, especially this Abure thing. This Abure's corruption started earlier, and I expected Peter Obi to have taken action then. Some people may say, okay, some political players may say, if he had done it then, he could have actually ruffled so many things, could have complicated issues then, and probably jeopardized Peter Obi's chance of winning the election, whatever. And then, what about immediately after the election? Couldn't it have done? I believe he waited for too long before intervening. And that was one of the criticism then, I remember then, of Kenneth Okonkwo, that he actually expected Peter Obi to have stepped in much earlier than when he did. What's your thought on that?
Well, people who talk like that forget the role and the power of the government to destabilize opposition parties. And like you said, those who argue that going into an election with a divided house was not advisable, I agree with that. And after the election, you have to take stock and everything. By the time they moved to sanitize the party, Abure would not go. He was there unelected, but he was the national leader. He could not go quietly. That was when the fight started. And of course, it is in the interest of the people who started, who infused and who sponsored the crisis in the first place to continue instigating the crisis, because the interest is not yet completely secured. So as of today, there is still interest in destabilizing the Labour Party there's still interest in destabilizing the PDP. The interest has not stopped. So if somebody criticized Peter Obi for not sorting out the issue, that issue has to be sorted by judicial power and by security forces, none of which he controls. So it is idle to say that he ought to do something over which he does not have full control, and to deal with people that are obviously being sponsored by outsiders. It's like saying that Fubora should sort out the problem in Rivers State when you know that the people opposing him are being controlled and sponsored by somebody else, even more powerful in terms of security and judiciary than him. It's equivalent to something like that. I don't fully ascribe full blame to him, to Peter Obi, for not sorting out that problem in the Labour Party. Eventually, it may be sorted out, whether it will be too late for them or, as a matter of fact, it's virtually too late for them.
Honestly, it is.
It's virtually too late for them.
Yeah. Please, I agree with you. Anyway, all right, that brings us to the end of this segment. Thank you so very much, Barrister Manta. For those of you, if you are still here with us, thank you for being with us all this, coming with us to this length. Barrister Austin Manta is a man we've been having this robust conversation with. He's a very senior legal practitioner of over four decades in practice. Barrister, thank you once again.
My pleasure.